On today's episode, we welcome Sergio Gutierrez, CEO of Nubius Solution. Sergio, welcome.
Thank you, Maxime. Pleasure to be here today.
There you go. So, what made you start your business and why? What inspired you to go in that domain?
I have been in the hosting industry for about 12 years, with the 4 last years on the MSP side as well, right? We were working for a big company that started to get too much on the politics and so on, and it started to affect the way we're working with our customers, right?
Okay.
We couldn't be as flexible as we needed. So one of the reasons and one of the things that I discussed it with my current partner, which actually was the CTO from that company as well, is that we need to do something that allow us to help customers the way we want, right? So that was like the main trigger. And we say, okay, we have to build something on our side. And from a year ago, a bit more, in September last year, I took the decision. I jumped out on from the company I was. He jumped out 1 month later while I was building everything in the US, getting the company registered and everything. And here we are, right? So partnering with customers and helping them and being there with them when they do the things, One of the things that made us do that is, every company has a Joe. Who is Joe? It's the guy that it's building, that it's putting everything, that it's putting the effort. And then you have like all the executive team, and then you have the director, then you have a manager and everyone. But usually Joes stay there alone, trying to keep everything going, right? So we like to partner with our customers and help the executives build the vision, build the strategy and everything, but also get the hands on with Joe, right? So we are that company that are next to him. That's why we build it, right? We like to get our hands on.
Was it easy to do the switch from being a tech guy in a business to actually be a business owner? Because it's so many other skills to learn. How was that transfer from the tech guy to?
Actually, I was the managing director
Oh,
for
okay.
the company I was before.
Yeah.
I actually started as a technician, right? So that's
Yeah.
my background. Right? I started as a technician from the bottom. I became then the supervisor. I have a major degree on business engineering and
Okay.
re-engineering. So I like that aspect. So what I started to do is combining my technical background with all of the business so you can build actually a business.
Yeah.
And my CTO, we started actually together at the same time at the company, both as engineers, technical engineers. But he took the line that he loves to build things, right? He loves to understand things. He's the only guy I know that you remember that scene on Marvel on the Iron Man and Tony saying, "When did you learn context, whatever?" Right? So last night, right? So he's something like that, right? So you
Yeah.
give him a new technology today, and tomorrow he's an expert. He grew up on all of the technical side to become the CTO. And I grew up on all of the business side. I became the director of operations, director of sales. Then I became the managing director for the entire hosting division. And he was working with me, right? So I put the business to his technical vision. So that's what we continue right now, right? So I build the business. I have all the technical understanding for what he's looking to do. And I put the business aspect to what he's actually building.
Nice. So your role right now is a little bit more marketing, decision making, client acquisition, and then he does all the tech side, all the implementation. And is that how the business kind of work right now? In
Yeah,
your role?
yeah, it's a
Globally?
mix of. I still get my hands on some things
Okay.
when needed,
Yeah.
but we have started to build a good team as well. So he's leading the engineering team to do the thing. So I focus on what issues are we solving for our customers, right? Because that's what we focus on, right? Helping our customers to solve the main problems they have. That's right.
And what does your business bring to, what's your service that you guys bring to the businesses actually?
There are different things, right? So the one thing that has been getting traction and more traction, it's ops assistance, right? So we become the ops for your devs. DevOps. And then I was actually reading something today, very interesting, right? Because a lot of companies have in their mind that DevOps, one person, right? So he do development and he would do operations.
Yeah.
That's half true, right? So yes, you can find people that do both things, but
Mhm.
you cannot do everything and expect for it to be great, right? It's just too much to take on. You cannot start building your CI/CD pipelines. You cannot start building your Terraform. You still need structure, right? So when it comes to DevOps, what we do is we partner with our customers and we become their ops for their devs. So we look into critical issues. So we had a case a few weeks back, right, where a full data center went down, and we had to dive in without previous knowledge, and I believe that that's like the main challenge. We had to jump in and start finding our way. Okay, what is what they have? Why is this happening? Started troubleshooting process, and we helped them to bring VMware back, Kubernetes back, and start seeing, okay, why this happened, right? So those are the kind of things that we do. But we do some other things, right? So we do data centers assessments, meaning, okay, what do you have? Do you have the visibility to see everything? We help them on understanding those things. Of course, with that comes data centers rebuilds or building them from scratch, right? So helping them architect. I believe the most valuable piece we bring is architecture.
Hmm.
Most of the things or most of the companies, whenever they have outages, failed deployments or stuff like that, when you go back and see what they don't have is a proper architecture, right?
Mhm.
Um, a quick example, we found an application that has a dependency, a very important dependency, running within the same platform that depends on, right? So if that platform is not able to come back, is because it's not able to connect to the VM that is running the dependency that he has, right? So those kind of things, right? Because pressure comes in, and we need to build this yesterday. Okay, so let's get it, and people there usually are executors. Okay, I built this VM, I put it here, I do this, but they didn't stop to think, okay, from an architecture perspective, where should I put this, right? I create a single point of failure? Am I locking myself out? A
Mhm.
few years back, we had a case where a full Hyper-V cluster crashed, and they were not able to bring it back, right? So they were, I cannot bring this back. I cannot get to the UI, to the control panel to see what's the status.
Hmm.
And why do you think it was, Maxime? Just our curiosity.
Hacker maybe inside?
Yeah, so they had the control panel running on a VM within the same Hyper-V, right? So if Hyper-V is down, how are you going to be able to see the nodes if the tool you use is running actually inside the same place, right? So those kind of things, right? So what we bring to our customers is architecture, not only for the infrastructure but for the application, right? So where should you put this? Should I bring this complexity at this point, or does it make sense even, right? So
Hmm.
that's where we actually bring into our customers.
And when we talk about data centers that you guys work on, is it like super mega big data centers, or there's like small data centers and like small businesses? What does a data center kind of look like that you guys work with?
I will say it's a mid-sized data center.
Okay.
We are on a mid-sized company range because
Mhm.
the big IT companies, they have a bunch of teams, right?
Yeah.
Then the small companies, they may have a rack with a few servers
Yeah.
if they ever get to a data center.
Hmm.
But mid-sized companies that are going mid-sized to start growing,
Hmm.
they usually have a medium footprint, right? So you will say 10 racks or 20 racks around those things, having different storages, having different hypervisors, stuff like that. So we have worked with that range of data centers lately.
Hmm. And is it is it more digital, or do you guys more go on location for like the business that actually use that in their business, like, as like colocation? I think we talked about AI workloads on our previous conversation, that and you
Mhm.
mentioned was maybe more on perimeters instead of digital.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it depends, So 95% or even 99% of the job can be done remotely, right?
yeah.
So even building the colocation, if you are able to guide the DCO guy at the data center or the location, wherever it is, and guide him on how to build it, you don't need to go there, right? So,
Yeah.
but there is always a chance where, okay, we do a final validation. So we fly in, we check out, and we validate what it has been done, right? But I will say 95% of the times, everything is done remotely.
And do you see you talked about architecture of like how everything is set up. Do you see a lot of like change with like cybersecurity changing a little bit with time with AI coming in? Is there like change that you have to do maybe with like wires or anything in those area that
Yeah.
you're seeing changing happening? What does that look
Um,
like?
Probably you have read a bit about this, right? But the main challenge that the 8 workloads have is power and
Mm,
cooling, right? So
okay.
it's that's something that you need to take into consideration, right?
Hmm.
And when you want to, for example, we were working with this customer in Europe, and they were looking to build their own AI workload. They were running it on Azure, but they wanted a more predictable approach, performance, cost, and everything, right? So they were ready to make the investment for this. But the first thing that we started to look at is when you bring the data center provider that you want for the co-location, you have to make sure that they have enough power and enough cooling, right? Because these servers, man, they consume I don't know how much, right? So, and it's one of the reasons is why you see now there are concerns about power globally, right? Because AI is taking a bunch of power, right? It's not only the business of the servers itself. It's okay,
Yeah.
data centers now to invest a lot on how they will power all of that, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of the main things that you have to figure out and take into consideration with building this.
Do business owner actually understand what that workload look like for all the power, or when you get to them and you actually explain it and you tell them it's gonna be this amount of power, they're like surprised, or what's the reaction of them when you actually bring them like numbers and stuff like that?
We have had mixed reactions, right?
Okay.
Some of them have done their job and they have done previous research, so they have like an idea, and then okay, yeah. So I had that already present. Another one, and I will tell you, in Central America, right? So we have a customer, a very big corporation, that they are starting to get into AI, right? So
Mhm.
I was like, they want to start with something small, some agentic stuff and everything, but they were like, I want all of this to be private, so I prefer it to be on-prem. Uh, for sure, not a problem. But the first question, do you know how much GPU costs right now?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so you can start with 50K probably, just
Yeah.
so just for to get a quick idea.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do you know how much power it requires to power these servers? And he was like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, your data center is not ready for that, right? So,
Mhm.
and he was like, oh, then that's part of what we do, right? So we come in and say, hey, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, right? Or, you can do it like this.
Mhm.
We are a Vultr partner, so Vultr is offering a lot of the GPUs for in different regions. So
Mhm.
we have customers that have their AI workloads in our private cloud with Vultr. So
Mhm.
we give them options, right? So you don't need to build your own stuff. You can leverage the cloud in a sense, using bare metals and everything. Or well, if you know what you're doing, like another customer we have that he came, hey, I need to build this on this way because of this, right? So I have compliance things in place. I have different things that I need to be able to do, and I won't be able to do it if I don't put it on my own data center, right? So
Mhm.
good. But he said, okay, I have the money. I know I have done my research, so I know what I'm getting into. I just need to get the guidance on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, right?
And so you just mentioned they can just go through the cloud to actually use the AI instead of building an infrastructure directly. Okay, so
Yeah.
is there any mistake that company does when they actually try to migrate to that cloud for the AI? Is there something that you saw happening a lot, or?
Well, most of the people, it depends how they want to move their loads to the cloud, right?
Mm,
Um, the mistake that most of them thinks is, okay, it is working here, so I just put it here and it will continue working as it is, right? Which half of it may be true, right? But the other half is, okay, but now you have to take into consideration the network, right? So do you need private circuits to there? So you will put it on-prem or you will put it on the cloud. Is the cloud where you are going allowing you to have those SD-WANs, or how will you connect with those things? So those are the kind of things that most of the companies overlook, right? So they just think, okay, I can shift this up, put it in the cloud, right? and then it comes the concept. Oh, but you know what? I want to be cloud native.
Mm.
Sure, let's do it cloud native. Let's look at your application, right? So, and then you find out, okay, but you have these dependencies, and then you are running an old version of each dependency. This is not compatible with any cloud native, so you have to refactor your code. So those are the kind of mistakes that several companies probably that have been running a lot of time in on-prem overlook when trying to move to the cloud.
And when you mean on-prem, what does that mean?
This customer has his own locations, right? So he rents a space in a data center, puts his servers there, build everything there, and so on. In that case, it's not related to AI, but general infrastructure, right? Actually, for this customer, they built their AI infrastructure with us in Vulture. So they went directly to Vulture. They didn't want to try it on-prem.
I didn't know they could rent spaces in the data center. I thought that was like one data center from one business. So they're
No.
And they share.
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what you actually get, there are multiple vendors, right? So you can see QTS, you can see DataBank, you can see a bunch of them, right? So what you can rent from one rack to a cage. So you are on the same physical location. They give you the power, they give you everything, and then you start building up within that cage your data center, right? You put your rack here, you have a rack here. They give you the uplinks to the internet, or you can bring your own internet connection. So there are different things. So yeah, when it comes to data centers, and when you do, it's data centers itself at the end, it's co-locations, right?
Yeah.
We could say that as on-prem, and that's how people call on-prem. But then there is another concept, right? Like a customer we have in Central America, that he has the servers in his office on his building, right? So that's another that's I will say that's a literal on-prem, right? It's in my location, right?
Yeah.
But at the end, co-locations become, in a sense, on-prem. It's just that you have it on a different physical location. But it's still your internet, it's still your servers. You're handling all of the servers, you're handling all of the routers, all of the switches, firewalls, etc.
So coming back to, I think you mentioned the power was one of the big issue whenever you start an infrastructure. Is that the main issue that's like the biggest challenge, or what was the biggest challenge of like a brand new client that want an infrastructure like right now?
If you want AI workloads, that's one of the major challenges, right? So you have to find the right location that is capable of providing you the power you need. Of course, it all depends how many servers or GPU servers you are going to put in, right? So it's not the same saying I'm going to put 1 to I'm going to put 10, right? And you also have to be, you also have to think, how many servers can I put per rack? Because probably the GPU is going to take most of the rack, not because of the space, because of the power and the cooling, right? If you put 3 servers on the same rack, it's going to probably burn if the data center doesn't have the right specs, right? So it's those are the kind of things that you have to be careful on when you are architecting, mapping, and building all of this.
And how do you make sure like the power? How do you upgrade the power of a location to make sure they have enough power for all that infrastructure? Is there any way to augment that? Like how
that's actually why you have to look for the right provider, right? Because that's the vendor that will have to give you the power, right? So you tell him, I need this amount of power in this rack, right? So they may have, and they need to give you like redundant connections as well, right? So keep in mind that it's not only, okay, I need 1,000 kilowatts, right? as an example, right? If you need 1,000 kilowatts for what? Just for one connection, or if it's redundant, then you need another line that gives you another 1,000 kilowatts, so you can connect the redundant connections in two locations, right? So that's let's say a feature or something you have to ask the vendor that you are putting on the things, right? If you are building your own data center, meaning the building itself, then yes, you have to be the one that, okay, I need to bring this up. So I have to subcontract this from the power company, et cetera, right? So it all depends on which case you are on.
And what's the biggest infrastructure that you guys built or took part of it? Like as how many servers and how many racks that you just mentioned? What was the biggest that you guys actually work with?
You know, what we were doing previously with my partner, we took it was two data centers connected together.
Okay.
So one is a smaller, one was like a smaller footprint. It had like 10 racks and so on. But then the main location had about 25 racks, and it had like all of them. They both were interconnected because the main goal for this company was, okay, I need to have private connections between both data centers, right? So we extended a private connection with an SD-WAN from one data center to the other data center. It was in two locations, different geographically locations in the US. And what we worked there, it's revamped the entire data centers, right? It went from changing the core firewall, old Cisco core firewalls, routers, etc., revamp them to next generation firewalls. We use it Fortinet, but this is a hosting company, right? So they were serving around 4,000 VMs live on one data center and 2,000 something on the other one. So the analogy we use is we revamped the entire data centers while it's like changing the engine of a bus while you're still driving it, right?
Oh my God.
So it was a very interesting. There were multiple projects, right? You cannot do everything at once, right? So you have to go step by step. So we changed the core firewalls, and then we also changed all of the switches for the storage network. We actually created different networks, right? So we isolated the storage, we isolated the management network, and then we have, of course, the public network that gave them the public IP, but then a private network within each customer itself. So we did a lot of isolation because one of the main problems they were having is whenever they got a DDoS attack, everything will go down, right?
Oh.
So that's a major problem, right? So when you don't want that to happen, another problem they had is one time something happens in the internal network, but everything was on the same things, right? There was no proper isolation. So it was the internal network, but it impacted the overall network, right? So those kind of things, what we look at is isolate issues, right? So make it in chunks that you can easily manage and stuff like that. Then, of course, we had to bring new hypervisors, and we also changed the storage system. You know, they were using an old Starwind, something like that, and then we got them to the next generation, a store pool solution with software-defined storage, right? So that increased the reliability really, really high, right? So it was one of the best changes that they could have done, to be honest. So we also implemented, I don't know if you have heard about Magic Transit, which is a Cloudflare service. So it allows you to become part of the Cloudflare network in a sense, but it gives you all of the protection, right? All anti-DDoS and everything. They did have an anti-DDoS system. It was good, but you know, when there a big attack will come, it will always flip at least for 20 seconds, right? And you know, they were running very critical loads. So 20 seconds for a critical application, it's a lot, right? So, and at the end, when we moved them to Magic Transit, implemented everything there, man, as of today, they have not had any issue with DDoS, and this was about 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So it's something that brought a lot of stability. Of course, we know the Cloudflare issue a few weeks back, right? So,
Yeah.
I have a phrase, right? So, outages is not if it happens,
Hmm.
is when it will happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to happen no matter what, no matter how much you put in, no matter how you try to distribute your stuff, outage is going to happen at some point. You just have to be prepared for that, right?
Hmm. So coming back to Nubius company, what's going well for you guys right now as maybe new clients coming in? What's going well for the business?
Yeah, we are starting to get more traction on this. As I mentioned, it ops assistance. We jump in when everything is on fire, right? That's something we have excel at. Everything is going crazy, and usually that's when our customers calls us in, right? So, and that goes as part of the ops assistance, but as well, AI. It's like one of the main topics right now. So
Yeah.
those two things are like driving different projects with us as well right now.
Hmm. And what's the big challenges of today for your business? Is it basically coming in when it's on a fire, or what was the challenges?
Well, my partner enjoys that actually, right? He's the kind of guy that he likes to jump into the fire and
There you
figure
go.
out what's causing the fire, right? So
There you go.
he's that kind of guy, right? But
Yeah.
but what he enjoys more than that is okay. I put out the fire, but now how do I avoid it coming again, right? So
Mhm.
because otherwise you cannot focus on what's important, right?
Yeah.
But one of the challenges, and I will be honest, right, is getting in front of the right people, right?
Mm.
Because for someone to trust you and give you the keys, because basically that's what they are giving you, right?
Yeah.
We are a third company, so for giving you the keys to say, okay, here are the keys to my data center, right? Here are the keys to my data, here are the keys to my infrastructure. Building that trust is usually what takes you time at the beginning. That's like the main challenge, right? You have to earn it. And how have you earned it? Okay, they have a fire, we jump in. Maybe we don't have access or anything, but we guide them, right? You can check this, you can check that, you can go here. So we start building that trust with our knowledge and experience. And
Mm.
then, okay, come in. You know this, so you do it, right? So
Mm.
here is you can access with this. So that's kind of how we get in there. The thing is, how do we get called to get into the fire, right?
Yeah.
That's probably one of the challenges. And so there have been different ways we have been called, usually referrals, or because
Yeah.
we have a friend that used to work with us and then come, hey, we have this issue, come help us. So
Mm.
that's one of the easiest ways, right?
Yeah.
Now, cold calls or something like that, that's a hard sell, right? So it's something we are developing and working on, but of course, that's one of the main challenges there.
Hmm. And did you find any ways to be able to show that expertise before there's a fire? Like maybe a LinkedIn post, or did you try anything on that to try to send that
Yeah,
information to people?
exactly. So, as an example, I was troubleshooting a connectivity issue for a customer, right? So, they used to work with me a long time back, and then they reached out, hey, I am having some problems here. Do you think you can give a hand to my guy, right? So, sure, let's jump in a call and I can guide them and no charge, right? So
Yeah.
I can give you a hand, right? So, they call me, okay, we get into a call. Why don't you add this to your server and this will tell you this, right? So those kind of things, right? Sharing the knowledge with them.
Mm.
The knowledge is not for you to keep it, right? So
Yeah.
you
No.
need to share that with them and show that you also trust them. One of the things, and I will just add a bit on that, is a bunch of times when we get into a company, all of these engineers, the Joe I was talking about, will tell you, I have said this several times, but no one hears me.
Mm.
That's one of the things that usually happens, right? So
Mm.
I jump with someone, hey, I have said this before, but they didn't listen to me, right? No problem. Let's say it together, and I will be your voice, right? I will help you out, right? So
Yeah.
and I make sure that they know that the guy had already, let's say, found part of the problem, right, or stuff like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's some of the things we work on.
So what was the big goals for you guys in 2026? Basically the 6 to 12 month period. Is there a big goal that you guys are aiming at or wanting to achieve?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's making more networking. Right, I need to get
Yeah.
more out there with the right people and start making those relationships. Right,
Yeah.
for us, and we will be honest. Right, we are not the type of company that will go with everyone. Right,
Hmm.
for us is we build relationships. Right, so we want to work with companies that actually sees us as their partner, not as their vendor. Right, so
Yeah.
we are partners to them and we jump with them.
Hmm.
And sometimes you will find companies that the way they work is not what you will be looking for. So we are also a bit selective on that regard because we want to make sure that we will be able to deliver what we promise.
Yeah.
So for me, it's that networking, making sure on that, keep developing on the business side. But if I will be able to find 3 to 4 customers with big infrastructure that they need will help on the 2026, for
Hmm.
me that's a big win, right? So I want to continue developing more of my engineers, making sure that we are helping them. And it may sound like okay, but just 4 or 5 customers, but if those 4 or 5 customers are the right customers, believe me, that will give you a lot to do. And
Hmm.
helping them is it's like the main goal. Why a small number? Because otherwise we won't be able to give the service that we want to provide, right?
Yeah.
Having 1,000 customers with 2 3 VMs, is that what you want to look for?
Hmm.
And just like getting the same small, oh, can you help me with my password, stuff like that? That's not what we do, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can help. And I will tell you, a lot of times what get us into the door is those small things.
Hmm.
So we do take on small projects, but
Yeah.
as a strategy to show what we are capable of, so we
Yeah.
can get more and partner with them, right?
Hmm. But you're not like focusing on offering MSPs or like those kind of service. That will be more of like you just said, you just enter into helping into something and then see where you could go in with like cloud or infrastructure or whatever it
Exactly,
is. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. We are kind of we are a managed cloud provider, right? So
Mhm.
we like to manage either cloud or on-prem. So we do offer that kind of management, but
Okay.
we know that to get the trust for them to give us like managing their routers, like managing
Hmm.
their platforms stuff. We first have to prove that we are trustable, right? That we
Yeah.
are what we are for. So we take on those small things first, but the end goal is the recurring revenue, right? So
Yeah.
we need to jump in and make that partnership that is a long-standing partnership, right? So we are not looking for customers for one time and just be done.
Yeah.
We are looking for relationships that will last 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we are aiming for.
Nice. So before we close, Sergio, is there any place that people can come and contact you? LinkedIn, website, where can they?
Definitely. They can find me on LinkedIn as Sergio Gutierrez dash net, if I'm not mistaken. That's the URL. And also at Nubius.io, right? So that's our main website. Nubius.io, you can see there a bit of what we do and what we offer, right? So definitely happy to
Perfect.
help too. Mhm.
Perfect. So thanks again, Sergio. That was an amazing conversation.
No, no, thanks to you, Maxine, and I appreciate the time and the space to talk with you.